Hello, hello, everybody. How are you all doing? Oop. Got a bit of a shaky table. Gonna wait for Indy to join us, but we've got a couple of topics that we would like to cover. Just take that off. Let me just tag Mr. Rajpal. Hi, Aman. How are you? Hi, Dimple. Hello, hello, Indy. I've already tagged you, so when you are ready to join. Can you guys hear me? Just give me a thumbs up when you can. Hi, Mito. I think you're here as well. Indy, it's trying to join you. Okay, good. You can hear me. Awesome. Okay, Indy. Why is it not working? Indy, it's not allowing me to accept you, so I don't know if you're trying to join from a laptop or something. Hopefully not. The option is grayed out. Can you request again? I think it's because I've already added you. Hang on, let me try again. I'm taking you on this journey with me. I'm just literally narrating what is going on. Hey, Dolly. Got you.
Yeah.
Hello, hello.
Yeah, it should be working, yeah.
Oh, wicked. I can hear you now. Okay. I'm just going to take my, because I thought it was connected to my headset, which it clearly works out that I'm not. So I'm going to take my headset off. How are you doing?
I'm good. Very good.
Good.
Yeah, very, very busy day.
It has been. It's been a busy period, hasn't it? With everyone celebrating Diwali and half terms. And have you had a lot of clients that have been sick with COVID and chest infections and
Yes,
right?
there's definitely something going around, yeah.
Yeah, I have to admit, my throat isn't feeling the most healthiest right now, but I put that down to coming from 36 degrees to like nothing.
Well, it was 20 on Friday, so.
It was when we got home. That was good, but that's the end of it, I think. Now we're going to go down into the low numbers.
Well, my favourite part of the year.
Okay, so I'm not.
I'm a winter baby in it, so.
I'm sorry, as someone who suffers very, very specifically with SAD, and I had a couple of clients that told me that they did as well. I am going to miss the summer months massively.
I think I might move to the Nordic countries and have less daylight.
And I'm going to go to the other side on the equator or something.
Yeah, I'll have loads of sunshine.
Exactly. Now, you and I obviously discussed the fact that there's a few things that we want to talk about today. So
Yeah.
which one should we do first? Because just for the people that are joining, I did put it in the subject as well, but we want to talk about under eating. And also I wanted to talk about intermittent fasting for people who are in the thick of a hormonal journey, let's say. Yeah. So which one? I'll leave it to you. Which one do you want to tackle first?
I guess I'll just start with the under eating.
Under eating? Let's go for it. Yeah.
Short and snappy. It's just something I want to talk about because I had a couple of clients mention this through messaging. So one of them was a couple of weeks ago. She's asked me if basically she had a friend who was having 1,000 calories every day and then would do like a massive binge on the weekend. So it still equated to like a calorie deficit, but she was saving it for the weekend. So my client was asking if that was a good approach. So my answer to that question was yes and no. So yes, she will still kind of yield a weight loss because she's in an overall calorie deficit over the week. However, she's not getting the right amount of nutrients and recovery from having the 1,000 calories every day. And then going to that massive binge in the weekend is just putting her body in like this kind of weird place. So in a nutshell, you can kind of distribute your calories. Well, doing that method, you're going to again have a weight loss, but ultimately the other effects of it are going to be negative things.
You're not going to have great body composition, yeah. Indeed, let's face it, because do you think, and imagine that they're sort of my height, my weight, do you think with 1,000 calories in my system, I could push hard in my training?
Yeah. Well, this is it though. Like, it's not just a case of eating less to lose weight. You need to feel just living, waking up, going to work, family, whatever you need to do, and then training. So the fuel source is there for other functions. It's just not a case of like just dropping weight. So, and you got to remember, the growth from our training occurs outside the gym.
Yeah.
So you need those nutrients. So a good example of using that kind of method would be like if you're going out for dinner, so you create a buffer the day or the day after to compensate for that. But I wouldn't do it like a daily thing. So that was one point I wanted to mention, how there are various strategies to kind of manipulate your calories across the week so you can have a bit of like going out with your loved one and having next dinner or something. But it's not wise to have like a whole week where you stay very restrictive and then accumulate these calories to then go and splurge on, basically. And then, so there's another point as well. One of my clients was mentioning to me yesterday that obviously they've got their meal plan, they know what to be eating, but they were basically just having one small breakfast and then a big lunch. That's it. So they were very heavily under eating. And they were like, so why am I not losing weight? And I was like, okay. So by having that approach of eating less, your body's metabolism actually lowers down.
Drops faster.
And so yeah, it stops. So it kicks down, it goes lower, and it goes into starvation mode. So what it'll start to do is atrophy, break down muscle tissue, and it'll start to conserve that food as fat.
So
you'll actually be gaining weight.
I want to talk about this whole starvation mode, because we know there's no such real thing as starvation mode. Because if there was a starvation mode, like, you know, the people in the countries that are very like specifically starving, like we wouldn't be tackling that, because if we were able to survive in starvation mode, we wouldn't have deaths from starving countries, okay, third world countries, developing countries. However, what I will say is you're absolutely right. Under eating will encourage your body to get its fuel, not just from the fat cells where we want it to take it from, but also from your muscle tissue. Now, why is your body using muscle tissue as energy not a good thing, Indy?
Well, because it's not the preferred fuel source, is it? And you need muscle tissue. It's going to always favor fat and carbs over your muscle source. So the body will say, okay, I don't need to worry about this muscle. We'll start breaking that down. So you create the illusion of basically looking smaller, but you're actually getting fatter. But
Skinny
that was like not the kind. Was that
skinny fat?
Yeah, skinny fat. That wasn't the thing I was the most worried about. It's the long-term kind of under-eating that creates the other side of it that we don't realize, which is like lower blood pressure, slower heart rates, you know, like hair loss, brittle bone, dizziness, trouble with just cognitive functions. Yeah. So, and then also leads to stuff like depression.
For women specifically, I think.
Yeah. What's that?
For women even more specifically with the depression,
100%.
because of the hormone effects because your hormones do get very severely disrupted when you are under eating. Your body needs, like Indy said, a certain amount of calories, not just for exercising or walking, getting your steps in, getting your cardio in. Your body needs calories to just survive.
Function, yeah.
Yep. And if you undereat consistently, your body is going to start shutting down the processes that it doesn't need for survival. Your reproductive system, which is why you lose your periods. Your hair doesn't need it for survival. Your nails become brittle. Your skin becomes sallow. You have very little energy because your body, you just don't have that energy in you to move. And so overall,
well, there are kind of like signs you can see. Like I ask people to check their fingernails, for example. Fingernails tell a lot of story on your sort of mineral deficiency and where you're going wrong. So, for example, when I went through chemotherapy, all my fingernails turned to black.
Yes.
Because obviously all the nutrients from my body are being stripped out. Yeah. My skin went darker.
And that's what it falls out too.
Yeah, that's it. Because, you know, your body's going into that kind of that decrease in metabolism. Survival. So the ultimate point I want to get at is like, there are no quick fixes, you know, to these. So thinking that, okay, I'll just eat less food and lose weight. Yes, the short term you may do, but the long term systemic load that you put on is going to be doubled to repair back. So again, going back to the point we've probably said a million of times, we're in a very much instant gratification society. But when it comes to certain aspects, you've got to be patient.
Yes. Now,
you know, and it goes back to the comment last week as well about muscle building. It's a patient process, just like it was about as well.
I know Rajita's on this calls. Hi, on this live. Hi, Rajita. She won't mind me saying when she first started, it's only because her in her check-in yesterday, I asked her how her hunger levels were, and her body's progressing really well. However, she was like, is this a good rate of fat loss? Do I need to be more aggressive? Do I need to cut more food out? And it was really interesting because when she came back, when I asked her, how are your hunger levels and your energy levels right now? She said, when I first started, I had so much food, I didn't know how to eat it. There was so much of it. Now, despite the fact I haven't dropped it, her output is at a good amount. She is now hungry. Hungry. She's getting stronger, but that food is disappearing. So there are days. She messaged me later on in the afternoon and she said, I'm really hungry. What do I do?
Yeah. What is it though? Because when you're used to, like, I think we've touched on this many times about how when you're coming before this journey, you're just having whatever, the quick fixes, the junk foods. So those are high kind of volume foods with high calories, but nutrient density is
low
low.
Volume, high calorie.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's it. So when we go to a nutrient dense meal, it obviously seems like a lot of food to eat, a lot of volume. So the initial thing is, like, this is a lot to eat, but eventually, once you get accustomed to the journey, you're like, okay, I need this food.
Yep.
You know, and the same thing happens in a building phase. So, for example, I'm on currently 4,000 calories a day.
Yep.
But I'm feeling like literally empty stomach, hungry between meals. So my metabolism is shooting up.
It is
so I'm having to consume a lot more calories now.
Yep. It's so good that you've explained that.
Yeah. So it's not like it's not okay, I'm going to get to this muscle building phase and it's going to be great. That's a struggle in itself as well. And you know, being able to, like, I've already consumed today about a kilo worth of rice and 200 grams of Cocoa Pops. Now that sounds fun, having 200 grams of Cocoa Pops is a lot of Cocoa Pops. But it's so there's both sides of the coin.
It is a big filler. It's not just a snack. Yeah. And the thing is, I remember this time last year, I was on about 1900 calories. Over from about now into February, I climbed it up to about 2,400 calories a day. And it felt like I was eating all flipping day long. But I kid you not, every time I incremented it within a couple of weeks, because I was pushing harder, able to get stronger in the gym, very big progressions, I was like, there was a couple of weeks in, I was like, I don't understand how I'm getting so much hungrier.
Well, when you're giving it all you got, your body needs a fuel. I have one of my own clients, he's on 600 grams of carbs a day.
Yeah.
That sounds amazing. Oh, that's loads of carbs, but it's a tedious process.
It's hard for especially women to eat. But what I will say is, don't be afraid of eating your full meal plan. Let me tell you one thing. You start cutting food out, your body's a very finely tuned machine. It will understand 3 days later, I need more food. You're not giving me enough to survive. So that is when you get big cravings, big hunger pangs, loss of mood, loss of energy. And the first thing you will do is reach for chocolates, crisps, high sugar, high salt foods, because your body's like, this stuff is going to give me instant energy. I need to get that because for the past 3 or 4 days, I've been under eating. Your body will absolutely do the right thing to help itself survive. What that means for your body composition is not a good thing.
Yeah. I mean, it's like a case of, I know a lot of people will say that it's a lot of volume of food. But that's why I would suggest to people to break the meals down every 3 hours. And if the big portions, make them into smaller portions. But and you'll realize how the hunger, the cravings kind of begin to dissipate because you're maintaining a healthy blood glucose balance.
Do you know, it's really interesting you say that, because I'd like to discuss that a little bit further. I'll tell you why. Because I was a big believer in that until I went on holiday last week. And I was at an all-inclusive. I keep shouting about this because it's a really big thing for people to understand that all-inclusive, you all know that the food is there in abundance all throughout the day. Whatever you want, alcohol, drinks, food, snacks, you know, desserts, ice cream, whatever, all bloody day long from 6 a.m. till 11 p.m. Okay. Now, I at home eat about 6 meals a day. Okay. And bear in mind that last week I did not train. I had no access to a gym. Okay. But obviously the heat was high and I was sleeping really, really well. Very deep sleep. I was very active through the day, 22,000 steps a day, lots of playing in the water, pool, swimming, so and dancing a lot. So for me, the activity levels were different and the style was different, but I was still keeping my activity levels high. But I only ate breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Not because we didn't want to go and we sat at the snack bar. We sat there with an abundance of food all laid out, drinks all day long. But I was so full. I ate so well through those 3 meal times. I ate my macros, I ate my protein, I ate good fats, and I had a heck of a lot of decent carbs. And I ate to my contentment, and I didn't skip out on dessert. And I didn't feel like I needed any fillers at all. No matter how many times it was offered, I was very comfortable. There was never a point where I was like, okay, I'm starving, I need to eat, and it's 2 hours till the next meal, till they open the next buffet. I was like, you know what? I've got half an hour in which I'm going to go shower, get ready, and then I'm going to be able to go to dinner. So I'm hungry at exactly the right time. So you have to work out what works well for your body.
Yeah. Well, you build up that resilience as well, don't you?
Yeah.
When your body when you've gone through this process, your metabolism's at a certain level, you can have those 3 meals.
Yeah.
Like I only have 3 meals a day at the moment. I don't have 6 meals.
Okay.
They're just 3 big meals. That's it.
I didn't know that. Okay.
Yeah. I don't have 6 meals a day. I have 3 main meals. That's it.
Okay.
You know, and so it's kind of a 3 hour in between each meal.
Okay.
That keeps me going. I mean, ultimately, you don't necessarily have to spread the meals out for the day. As long as you hit your calorie total for the day, you can literally have 1 big meal in the evening.
Yes.
However, it's not wise to do that if you've got other things going. Like everything depends on the context of the situation. My lifestyle can allow me to just have 3 meals because I'm not having to do the extra amount of work.
Those meals.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. I take my time and I don't squat my meals down. I will mindfully eat, break down everything, have a greater surface area. So again, it depends on the context, but ultimately it comes down to just making sure you hit that target throughout the day.
Yeah.
You know, if it's spreading across the day or having 1 big meal, as long as you've hit that calorie target for the day, it's fine. It gets into nitty gritty when we get like closer to maybe, let's say, a photo shoot, or sort of there. That's when we have to get a bit more precise on when to time meals. But the majority of you guys, early stages, it's like whatever works best for you.
Yeah. And I will say you're absolutely right around when you said you're quite lucky that you don't have to, you can take your time at meals. That was one of the things I noticed on holiday as well, is that we were sitting there at the table at the buffet for an hour and a half, happily, just chilling. There was no rush. And because of that, I could sit there watching everybody else keep filling their plates. And I didn't feel like I needed to, because that 1 plate of mine that I'd filled up was taking me just as much time, because I was mindful about what I was eating and I was taking the time. And I was consciously, every time I finished a section of my plate, I was like, do I want more? Am I good? So I would eat.
This is it, like the more mindful you are, the more chewing food properly and increasing the surface area of that food, the more your stomach falls, or the less obviously it does, the less work for it does to try to break that down as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you're not necessarily hungry or wanting more, because you actually increase surface area by breaking down, not just scoffing it down. I'm a big advocate on every families getting together on their table, having their dinners, no phones, no TV.
Yeah.
But nowadays we just sit in front of the TV and just that.
Yeah.
Food should be like a kind of not ritualistic thing, but kind of it's
joyful.
Yeah, you want to take your time.
Day.
That's it.
And this thing, like, I insist my kids and I have breakfast together and dinner together. And we sit there and it is a no device zone. Now, my daughter's trying to build in books and things, and she'll be trying to sneak a book in on the side. But we're still all sitting there, very calm, very chilled, not pushing ourselves to finish within 20 minutes. Now, I know there's a lot of parents out there with kids that have class after class after class, and time is very limited. Then they've got homework. You may have to log back in for your own work. And you may, at that point be looking at your step count on your watch and going, oh, crap, I need to get out and do some more steps as well. But that is why, as Indy said, time your meals so that you know that you are having it every 3 hours. And if you're starting dinner at 6, give yourself a 30-minute time period in which to, because that's enough, Indy, don't you think? 30 minutes to eat.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, even like, I'm sure you've seen this in check-in sometimes, and clients are like, okay, I've got like bloating.
Yes.
Yeah, and then the first thing sometimes it'll be like, okay, go and grab yourself some enzymes, for example, and that'll help break it down. But it's like, before we even get to the enzymes, have you ever Yeah, have you just literally scoffed the meal down and not allowed your body time to break down anything? So
Shruti has a really good set of meal hygiene tips that she gives to, or she used to give to her clients before she went on maternity leave. Just so that you guys know, Coach Jyoti is going to be coming back from maternity leave early next year. So we're very excited about that. But she had this amazing ritual, including breath work before you start eating, to bring all your stress levels down, your vagus nerve back into a really, really calm place, so that your body can get on with the great job of starting your digestion.
yeah, well, it's the rest to digest. Basically, if you're eating in a stressed state, the food's not going to be processed properly as well.
Yep.
Same thing, like if you're watching something on TV that's going to make you feel excited, your attention's there, so your body's not doing what it's meant to be doing when you're eating. And obviously, these are like ideal scenarios, and we don't necessarily live ideal lives, so we can do that. But little things to make can make a big difference.
Yes, 100%. And going back to the whole topic that we started to discuss, the whole under eating thing, what I also want to point out to you guys is, if you ever think about it, remember that the effects of you under eating psychologically to then binge at the weekends becomes a really difficult cycle to break. It is psychologically an awful place to be, where you feel like you have to starve yourself in the week in order to live at the weekends. Your body, your mentality, your brain doesn't do its job in the most effective way, because it's underfueled. Then at the weekend, when you overindulge with very fatty, very high calorie, low volume foods, your digestive system is going to go, what the hell are you doing to me? So you're going to feel really sluggish, lethargic. You're not going to wake up in the morning bouncing out of bed with those extra calories. You're going to get out of bed going, I feel like utter rubbish because I overdid it last night.
Yeah, and then you're opening yourself up to like compromise your immune system, colds, stuff like that, because you've not adequately fueled your body. So remember, this whole process isn't just about getting leaner or brushing body fat; it's overall health. You know,
100%.
one of my clients on her check-in a few weeks ago, she mentioned how she'd done her blood test and she came back and her cholesterol was low, and she was so happy about that.
Yeah.
Because prior to doing this journey, her cholesterol was high. You know, so that's a win that we're looking for, because we're not just looking at the visual changes; it's the internal as well.
Health
Yeah.
and well-being.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
So, and it's great, Aman, that you are feeling like this makes more sense to you, because, you know, there are a lot of you out there in this group and outside, you know, your loved ones, where people do think that they can just drop. And I will be honest, there's a heck of a lot of coaches out there who rely on you getting aggressively into a deficit, getting your results, and then fucking off out of your life, leaving you to pick up all the little bits that they've left in the wake of them taking you to such an aggressive deficit. It's not something that we chase for health, and especially because, as we know, our niche is sort of the older clientele, like my age, and we're not going to be setting ourselves up for a healthy long-term life if we treat ourselves so aggressively and without that consideration now.
Anything that comes through rushing, you lose it all quickly. You know, and I'm like, I know obviously this is very important for some people to want to look a certain way to be healthy, but it's also one of the things you've got to be very patient on.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, and it's like putting the work in. And I think I've said this so many times on these lives about, if you're not willing to put aside having a certain drink or sweet or chocolate for 3 months or 6 months for your overall lifetime of health, then what can you do?
Mm-hmm. And I will say this again and again. Just as an example, I was an absolute pizza fiend. If anyone was like, let's go out for dinner, I would have no other answer except let's go for pizza, right? I didn't want anything other than pizza when I was going out. My gut does not like pizza, okay? And it's become more and more clear because of the way that I've treated myself over the last 8 years. And so now, as much as I still love pizza, my first choice is not that, because my first choice is something that's going to make me feel good and allow me to then enjoy the rest of my evening and the next day, for example, rather than feel bloated, feel sick. And it's not that pizza is going to make me gain weight. It's that pizza is going to make me feel pretty awful.
Yeah, it'll give you maybe like a momentary bit of high, but it's the repercussions the next morning.
Yeah. So I don't do
like
it.
Even, yeah. like I used to be quite kind of like there were periods when I'd be ordering from Uber Eats or delivery at least 3 times a week because I'd be like, I'm going to have a takeaway in it. And now I'm in such a place where I don't see the point of doing it anymore. What, it's not going to give me anything,
I don't even
you know?
know on my phone.
Yeah,
That
because
is
it's you know,
how I'm like,
yeah,
forget it. If it's not there, even the kids are like sometimes, oh, mummy, my friend got Uber Eats. What's Uber Eats? And I'm like, it's a food delivery app, but do you need that? And then
yeah,
they sit there looking at me. It's not like I don't take them out for a cheeky McDonald's now and then, but let's make a thing of it then. Let's not make it such a seedy, situation where we order it in and that becomes a habit. Every Friday we get a takeaway.
yeah,
Let's go out. In fact, choose somewhere nice and let's go out for a proper meal that's going to
yeah.
actually give us the whole experience of being served and looked after and good quality food and enjoy the company
Where
together.
it's often the case as well. Like most cases, it's often the excitement of getting it. Then when you get it, it's like, yeah,
Yeah, it's all right.
you know. So it's more the kind of hype of having the experience.
It's that
But
bell
like,
ring, innit, Andy? When it
yeah,
arrives,
that's
and you're
it.
like, yes, it's here, everybody get the plate.
Yeah, and then you're like, okay, was
That
that
was,
really worth
yeah,
it? And
yeah.
you know, like, so I that's one thing I personally went through this last few months of breaking that habit. And now I look forward to cooking my meals and I enjoy it. What's that?
Only a few months ago.
Yeah.
See,
So look, even
this is what I want you to recognize. Even as experienced and an amazing
yeah,
coach,
we're all going through our journey. Yeah,
we're
yeah,
still flipping human.
yeah. I
That's
mean, look,
amazing.
I love coming home every day, cooking my meals fresh. I don't prep anymore. I just because I had the time and that allows me to. I cook daily fresh meals every day, and I love it. And there's great joy in that because when I sit down to eat it, I know I've taken me 45 minutes to cook this meal, and I appreciate it more. So yeah, well, this is it. So that's why I take 35 minutes to eat it. Yeah, but it's because I think if you really value yourself, okay, and this is just my thinking, that then you want to go and eat the healthy things. You want to make the right decisions, the right choices, because it comes down to you. This is like my training, my eating, my sleeping is an act of self-love.
That is one of the best things that I tell my clients. And when they do start to understand that, they also recognize how powerful that notion is. I don't do this. I don't choose better food because I want to lose weight. I choose it because it is my act for self-love.
What's the common phrase? Your body's a temple, isn't it?
Yep.
And I want to give I hold myself in a certain regard, and the way I hold myself, and I want to give it the best. And that again goes to the food, but also what I'm putting in terms of my emotional side of stuff, like what I'm taking in from the information around me, the people around me.
Consumption isn't just food and drink, is it?
Yeah, yeah. Because again, we can give you guys the best meal plan, the best training, but then if you're constantly getting stressed out, then you're creating that emotional side of the health is dipping. So in an ideal scenario, you'll be interdependent in the sense of having a good emotional awareness, good sleep, good nutrition, good movement.
Right. So I'm really excited that we've covered this. And guys, if you have any questions, please do put them in the comments because Indy and I would love to answer them. We're going to move on to another topic now. Okay. But please do feel free to ask questions about the undereating and even food psychology around, trying to do an aggressive method to get your fat loss, because we want to make sure that you have all the understanding and information for you to decide not to treat yourself or mistreat yourself any longer. Okay, so the next thing obviously we wanted to talk about today was so I put a story up on my Instagram yesterday. I don't know if you saw it, Indy, but it was on my Facebook as well.
I'm not Instagram.
So basically I asked, because I had a chat with a nutritionist who has been with 2 coaches in the past, and she's a nutritionist that I actually have a lot of love for. Her knowledge around gut health, she specifically her specialism is in gut health and IBS and IBD. Okay, and she's been working in that. She is industry recognized. She's called for big talks and exhibitions and things like that. So honestly, she's just the nicest woman as well. Okay, but she is your average person, and she reached out because she was like, my thing is gut health, my thing is not fat loss. That is what I really need help with, which I think was fantastic, because anyone thinks a nutritionist is there to do is a fix all. And yes, some nutritionists can help lose weight, but as a side effect of better eating and better food education. They don't work specifically on fat loss. Now, this lady wants fat loss, but she'd been with a coach who was also a doctor, GP, who was also a functional medic, okay? She was told, and this woman, bear in mind that this nutritionist is in her 50s, okay? She's also had a hysterectomy. So can you imagine where her hormonal situation is, right? For those of you who don't know, maybe you don't, hysterectomy is when your uterus is removed from your body, okay? Which means that your normal hormone function is completely different because you don't any longer have the main reproductive equipment, okay? So your whole hormonal health is a whole different place, okay? Now, she's been through it, you know, in the last few years. She's recovered, she's fine, but obviously her hormones are completely postmenopausal, right? This doctor, GP, told her that the best way for her to lose fat was through intermittent fasting. Okay. Like I said, mid-50s, right? Now, I was like, oof, really? She goes, I know, Tej. My knowledge, I have such good knowledge about hormones and hormonal health and the food aspect of it to help. And I would never have gone with intermittent fasting. But she said, I wanted to trust her. I chose her as a coach because of her medical background, functional medicine, and the fact that, you know, she said she'd dealt with postmenopausal, menopausal women. The fact that she was saying that she was extremely busy, and on this group coaching situation, she only had 2 people on there, in a 50-person group coaching situation, was also red flagging this nutritionist, okay? But she wanted to trust in her because she's like, I've invested in this, and quite a lot, okay? She invested £5,000 for 6 months with this nutritionist, with this doctor. And she tried the intermittent fasting. She was told to fast for 36 hours. For those of you who don't know what intermittent fasting is, yeah, she was told, obviously a day is 24 hours, and most people will do an intermittent fast where they eat for an 8-hour slot and don't eat for an 18-hour slot, whatever it is, okay? But this lady was told to do 36 hours, like every couple of days, okay? For the first 3 weeks, she did this. She followed blindly. She didn't lose a single gram, not one, okay? But on top of that, she started feeling really lethargic. She felt really awful. She felt really like flabby 3-4 weeks in. And yeah, exactly, Dolly, 36 hours with no food. Poof. So anyway, she questioned it and she said to the doctor, I would never have recommended this. Why did you do that? She goes, oh, because that's what I've heard. Now, I told this nutritionist, I said, why would you have not followed that? Because I wanted to see if she understood it the same way as I did. So she said, because as we are postmenopausal or menopausal, obviously our estrogen levels are lower. We all know this. Yeah, Tusha, hangry isn't the word for what we would have been, okay? But your estrogen levels are lower. Now, I covered this in the menopause live that I did 2 weeks ago, guys. So please catch up if you haven't and you do want to know more about the menopause situation. But as your estrogen levels lower, your body is more predisposed to holding fat around your abdomen, around the back, at the bottom of your arms, all the fun places, okay? And it just disrupts your hormones big time to fast for long periods of time. Because what is your body looking for, Indy, hormonally, with your food?
What's going to be the right fuel source, isn't it, or fat to regulate hormones?
Exactly this. So this is the problem, is that I want every one of you, like, you know, we've got Zora here who's 47, we've got Tusha who's in her 40s, Asha, Gala, Sejal, Parita, Nisha, like, guys, so many of us in our 40s. Intermittent fasting is definitely a fat loss method worth looking into. Especially, we do rely on it when we get down to the crux of photo shoot condition, right, Indy?
Yeah, but I would say again, back to earlier, it depends on the context of the situation. So someone post-menopausal, I would recommend.
Right.
I'd recommend intermittent fasting for the window of like eating 8 hours in a day, but not having a 36-hour fast. That's strong, yeah.
Right. So this is the thing that I want people to understand, is that you can get weight loss, and make sure you understand I'm using the word weight loss, not fat loss. Okay, you can get weight loss using intermittent fasting, but if your hormonal health is going to suffer, and don't forget, as you are older, menopausal, your hormones are changing, your estrogen levels are lower, it also will encourage your body to live in a state of stress. So your cortisol levels are higher, right? Your adrenals kick in and stay kicked in for longer. And that in itself together, Indy, what kind of concoction is that for fat loss?
Yeah, not a good one, yeah.
Not a good one.
It's a shitstorm, yeah.
Absolutely. Stress plus menopause, or even stress plus any hormone condition like thyroid dysfunction, diabetes, PCOS, and menopause and perimenopause, you're never going to get the best results from doing something like intermittent fasting that, again, allows your body to get to that stress state. Okay, your body will absolutely then allow you will produce more fat storing enzymes, LPL. All right, your body will become more insulin resistant as well. There are all these factors that we have to consider, because that is what our bodies are built to do and change into when we are no longer in our reproductive prime. Okay, so from that perspective, this is why I wanted to talk to you guys about that specifically, because I have so many of my clients at this stage in their life, and they're like, can I do intermittent fasting? Is it worth me looking into that? My weight isn't shifting as quickly. Weight, not body. Their bodies are changing. They're not seeing the weight go down as quickly as they used to. So they're like, oh, I used to intermittent fast. Should we look at doing that? But actually, this is the whole point. Like, Zora, I think I'd love you to pitch in, because you're one of those people that you're not seeing the scale go down as fast, but how quickly is your body changing? And you're 48, 47. Please comment, guys. Put your journey information, put in your experiences, because there are a lot of you that will learn from each other, because you're all at similar stages in your life.
But I would just say that what that doctor was probably suggesting is fasting, not like intermittent fasting, because that's two different things in it.
Yes.
Intermittent, yeah. So it's going to be fasting. I mean, fasting itself is a great thing to do because it allows your body to produce more mitochondria, which is a fuel source. But again, it's the context of the situation. So there are time and place where fasting will be great, but the context of the situation, if someone's past those stages, yeah, definitely wouldn't.
I wouldn't encourage fasting for anyone who has been through their
in this process, that's it. So everything, there's no necessarily right or wrong. It's a context of everything.
Kala, yes, and if you're doing it well, if it's well planned, a good coach who understands how to lead you in and out of fasting will help you to choose the right foods to come out of that fast and how to eat. But
so I used to do a fast in the lockdowns, 24 hours, and it's a great way to again increase mitochondrial health and more energy. But yeah, as Tej was saying, it's about the right things afterwards, not coming out of it and having a pizza. Basically, that would be nice though.
There's a few comments. I'm just going to read them out. Gala says, surely this can lead to binge eating after fasting or for so long. Gobbling down food after that window of fasting will also not help. No, it won't. It will cause a lot of bloating because you're not going to chew. You're so hungry. But for someone who's practiced in the art of it, they can manage it really.
That's it. So it all comes down to how to employ the right tool to the right individual.
Yes.
If you have a well-balanced approach around food, then by all means it can work. But if you've got a negative relationship around food, it's not the best tool.
But also I'd like to say something a bit controversial here as well, is that I think fasting works better for men than it does for women.
No, I mean, like, the women I know who do it have had like great results. But again, it's context, isn't it? But they also do the other factors alongside the thing to get better results.
Lots of other factors, and they're not new to this as well, Indy. Okay, Sejal says, definitely not lost lots of weight, but the shape and strength I've gained has been amazing. I mean, and her shape is phenomenal, and she is super, super strong. For someone so small, she is so flipping strong. It's beautiful. So, Sejal, I'm really glad. And that's another lady in her mid-40s. Aman says, I haven't seen the scales go down or any centimeters lost, but I can see so much difference in my strength when I'm training. Trust me, you carry on with that. What's going to happen, Indy?
You're going to lose weight.
Absolutely.
It'll catch up with you.
Tusha says, I tried intermittent fasting for 3 months in lockdown, lost a few kilos, but then put on weight. Because you go back to normal eating. Or
well, it's also the case of like when people intermittent fast, the assumption is that you have an 8-hour window. So it's like, cool, I'm gonna have 8-hour window. But what people do is still have a calorie surplus in that 8-hour window. So you need to maintain a deficit.
Yep.
So I intermittent fast. That's my daily thing. I don't have my first meal till to probably when I finish work, 10 o'clock in the morning. Last meal is at 6. So I have a window between those ends. But I've assumed
what time do you wait
push it
for everyone else to know?
4:30 in the morning. So
Exactly. So it's a good 6-hour wait before your first meal.
yeah. So that's like intermittent fast. But then it's a case of people think, oh yeah, if I just eat within this 8-hour window from 12 to 6, but they have a surplus of food in that period. So even though they've had a window outside of that where they have a net and they've consumed a surplus of calories in that period of time. So again, it's employing it the right way. So maintaining a deficit in that window, yeah.
This is it, because a lot of people will forcefully starve themselves for that intermittent fasting period. When they open that fast, they're so hungry, they just overdo it, a lot of them.
Yeah.
Okay.
Rubbish everything.
Exactly. And Tusha's just put a comment as well. I put on weight whilst fasting, but I probably ate too much in my window as I was so hungry. So this goes back down to that whole binging and purging thing. You weren't intermittent fasting, you were purging and then binging all in one day. Okay, so that is a relationship with food that I'm really happy to say that seems to be in a much better place now, and Indy can corroborate. So Aman said, also, I feel better in myself and I went for a massage with my regular lady today. I advocate massages very much so. She commented saying that I look like I've lost weight. How nice is that to hear from someone who gets to see literally every part of you?
But that's the best thing though, because if it's someone external for me, they don't regularly see that, for say, oh, that's the kind of positive boost you need.
Yeah. Absolutely. Dina says, not an intermittent fasting question. How can we manage self-sabotage behavior? What a great question. Have to say, that's quite a deep one as well. So we can cover a little bit of it now, Indy, because I'm very conscious of the time. But I'd like to actually, would you be happy to cover this on a full live next time? Self-sabotage.
Can do, yeah. I mean, I'm going to just coin it as not a self-sabotage, it's more self-preservation. But yeah, we can cover that. Yeah.
I don't want to wait, because that's an interesting concept.
So you got to remember now, like the person we want to be is it's on the other end of that courage, isn't it? So that we dip our toes into like wanting to lose weight and do this journey. And when you become accustomed to so many years of having these habits and eating these things that's the frame you hold of yourself. This is the image you say you are. So then when you start to kind of go into that, stepping out of that old individual and going into this kind of brand new person, it's scary because it's the unknown. You're not used to that. So then we revert back to the old individual because that's what we know.
That's our comfort.
So I don't call it sabotage, it's self-preservation, because the body's going to put itself in a place to feel secure. So
you're right.
It's more preserving yourself, yeah. It's not a case of like I've sabotaged myself. It's your body just putting itself in a preservation mode because we're ultimately afraid of change, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's why we all say we want to lose weight or build muscle or build a business, whatever you want to do.
But we've not been able to do it.
Yeah, because we're afraid to do so. Because it's something foreign from us, and this goes deeper down to like how we value ourselves and how we perceive ourselves and what we've been told by society.
We have to let go of who we were
to become the person we want to be,
who we need to be, so that we get those results.
One thing I'm a big advocate on is people doing what's called a 30-day mental diet. But that's a big challenge for people. So that's being conscious of your thoughts every day and the narrative you tell yourself. My narrative used to always be, I'm fat, no one's going to get out of me, I'm ugly, I can't do this, all that stuff. So that's the person I was. That's how I associate myself in the world, because that's the information I was given. And only when I realized that these beliefs were formed by false data from the external world, not my own assumption of myself, but other people's, I became consciously aware of how I was thinking throughout the day and changed those habits and began telling myself a new narrative that I was worthy, that I did have value and I could achieve what I wanted to do. And slowly life began to reflect that. But it takes time.
It does. It does.
Like if in an ideal world, if everyone could have a 30-day mental diet, they'd be amazed at what happens to them. But it takes conscious effort to do that.
But it is possible to do that over a longer period of time without that.
Yeah.
If we all could do that 30-day allocation to do that, that would be fantastic. It would make the process a heck of a lot quicker. But I'll be honest, like, for example, last week when I was on holiday, like, I don't know if many people picked up on it when I posted it in my stories the other day, but I was on my period when I was away. I was in my bikini. I was, doing workouts on the beach. I was wearing whatever I wanted to wear. I wasn't at my leanest for the bulk of the holiday because I was obviously bloated from being on my period. The old me would have been fully covered, not wanting anyone to know, really keeping myself to myself, and really not trying to be active and staying away from doing the things that I love on this holiday, or maybe even going on the mini pill to stop my period. But it's taken me to embrace being this me who is like, my period is a blessing to my body. My body is a blessing to me. My body is everything that I love and respect about what I do for myself. It's the result of all of that. So if I hide you or mistreat you or, give you shit to stop your period just because I want to be out in the sun, then am I fully respecting myself? And I'll be honest, like, it is because I am now the person that I really want to be, that I can allow myself to be in that space where I don't care what anyone else says or sees in me. Like I said, I'm not the leanest I've been, but I'm the most in love with myself that I've ever been.
Well, I would pitch it there and say that we're going to make is, what you got to say is how I'm saying this to you guys. People will treat you how you perceive yourself. So if I was to walk around and, I don't know, let's say I've got this spot on my head right at the moment, yeah? But if I kept giving myself attention to it, and I would be conscious of people looking at it, then I would get attention to that area. But if I just turn around and stare, no one's going to give a two, about it.
Yep.
So we're drawing that attention to ourselves, and again, it's changing that narrative, not giving us. It's changing how you see yourself in it. Like conversation I had with a client says, for example, acquisition of wealth. You can get the most amount of money you want, but if you don't feel wealthy within, that money will just elude you.
Yep.
The value, your confidence, your change will come from the inner reality first. So you've got to become before you are.
Yes.
So
yes.
Everyone's going to lose the weight. Everyone's going to get their results. But if they still think that they're fat and they're not good enough, then reality is going to say, cool. There was a very famous book written by a plastic surgeon in New York who said that people would come to him to have surgery. So women would go and have nose jobs and breast augmentations. Often straight away they'd feel great about themselves, but a month later on they're back to square one
something else
because they haven't changed the internal story.
Yes.
So obviously there's only so much we can do as coaches here, but if people can start to see themselves in a different light and actually give themselves positive reinforcement instead of always being critical of themselves, you'll be surprised at how things change and how much you actually quicker lose weight because you're looking at yourself in the mirror. Like I've gone through phases of bulk cut for the last 5 years. This is the first day I look in the mirror and I'm like, I love myself. Even though I'm in a bulk and I wake up, I'm like, and I'm like, I'm not gaining weight. Why am I not gaining weight? When in the past I would have wished to scales to drop.
Yeah.
But that's because I've changed the internal dialogue I give myself.
Yeah.
I don't see myself as a fatty anymore or the person who isn't worthy. So and I understand it's tougher for women because there's a lot more kind of
external
pressure on us to look. Factors at play. But ultimately, how you perceive yourself is going to dictate how this journey goes to you.
Agreed.
So the bulk of this process is an internal journey, not necessarily the external process. It's going within and being honest with yourself.
Yeah, I agree. I have clients who are absolutely beautiful. Yes, they're coming on board because they want to lose weight. They are, clinically overweight. Okay. So they, for their health, want to lose weight. They're already beautiful women. Okay. I also have women who are not in the slightest bit overweight. They're just a little bit skinny fat. They just need a body recomposition. It's interesting to see how in a lot of the cases, the larger women have more self-love for themselves than the skinny fat ladies who in the past have been much leaner. And all of a sudden, then they're losing this identity of that lean person that they were. And they're grieving for that old identity. So when they're coming on board, they feel like they're going to regain that old identity. It takes me longer to help them understand that no, we're not trying to get that old you back. We're trying to build an even better version of you now.
Yeah. Well, that old person was built on different circumstances, you know, so many different factors.
And this is
So,
a new person who is going to embody the actions of someone who already has those results in order to get those results. So when I operate on a day-to-day basis, when I train, I don't have any goals now. I'm not looking to get leaner. I'm not looking to build. I've said for many months now, after my photo shoot, I wanted to just maintain for the next at least 6 months. Then I might decide whatever else I want to do. But I wanted to just enjoy myself, and I'm thoroughly doing that. But the reason I train and train hard is because I want to stay functional. I live like the 80-year-old woman that I plan to be, if that makes sense. Like the 80-year-old who still goes to the gym, racks on the plate.
Remember, training's not just really training's not just about looking good or being strong. It's about your overall mitochondrial health. Yep. So the more you move, the more energy you produce, the more mitochondria produce. Mitochondria is a little power cells in the body. The more effect you have, like longevity. So longevity is important, but you want to live well as well. So there's no point of living to 100 if you're battered and broken.
Yeah.
And all that living that longevity is going to become a byproduct of what you do now. So again, this journey isn't about the 6 months you signed up for. It's like the next 20, 30, 40, 50 years.
Yes, indeed. Yes. Even my mum this weekend, when she rang me and she was like, what are the kids doing? What are you doing? You've just arrived. I said, they're at tuition. I'm just on my way to the gym. She was like, why though? You've done your photo shoot. Why do you need to keep training? We're going to have to try and educate people as we go. And if in your life you have people like that who question your actions, it's not because they don't want you to do your best. In a lot of cases, it's because they don't know. And you can either educate them or you can ignore them. And I always choose to educate, because I want them to come on this journey with me. At some point, the flip will switch in these people and they'll be like, oh my God, I should do this. I should do it. I don't want to lose weight. But actually, if it means that when I'm 80, I don't have to have someone take me off and on and off the toilet or get me in and out of bed, and I can go and do my shopping by myself, then that's a bloody win. Because I don't want any of us to be sitting there being reliant on others to just get on with basic life. And this is what being active, staying healthy is all about. And so many of you guys come on board and you say, I don't want to end up like my mum and dad. And
we don't look at the bigger picture in it. It's a very short-term thing. It's like, I want to be in a position where I can see my kids get married and so forth and be there, you know, and I want to be healthy.
Sun on your shoulder for the barat,
right?
Yeah,
it's true. Yeah, it's like, but that's what I mean. It's what I'm doing now is about thinking about the next 20, 30, 50 years for my life, not the kind of small-term goal of putting a bit more size on now.
Yeah.
It's being able to grow old and not have to, like you said, have to worry about someone having to pick me up or do these things.
Wipe your bum.
Yeah. You know, that's already challenged as it is, but it's like, that's what I mean. So this process isn't like, okay, I'm going to sign up for 6 months and I'm going to get lean and I'll be fine. No, it's about what can you take away from this educational process that's going to carry forward into your life, because you're not going to always be able to come back to something like this as well. You know, and we pick and choose the right people to come on board for this process, and we want them, you know, we want the best for you guys. And I'm sure people who are coached by their very different coaches there know how much like we care and put that time in, because we want you to receive results, you know, because we know how it feels like to go there ourselves, because we've both been there.
Yes. Yeah.
You know, I was a fatty. Unfortunately, Tej was fatty once as well, but we have that empathy, understand that it is tough. And what we're imparting onto you is what we've gone through. You know, I don't call myself a specialist or label myself anything like that. I'm just like you guys. I'm just like that one lesson ahead. You know, that's it. And I'm imparting what I'm learning back. And I think, you know, you've got to put yourself first. You know, this is another thing I get from clients. I don't have time, or kids come first. I'm like, okay. So imagine if you were happier in yourself and healthier. How can you be you'd be more of an effective parent, wouldn't you? You'd be more better at work. So the notion of being selfish isn't bad. It's actually favors you being selfish to be more better at the things you want to do.
So it's interesting that you say that, because before you guys came on board Tej-Fit and I was operating on my own, one of the things that I used to tell every single person that came on board is my aim, my job here is to make you selfish. And they'd be like, what the heck? And I was like, no, don't think selfish is a bad word. It's not a dirty word. Being selfish is just the way I'm putting it to you, because you've never prioritized yourself. You've been taught not to by your mums, your grandmas, your aunts, your family, your dad, your brothers. You've been taught that you are the last thing to consider in your life. I'm here to turn that all on its head and say, you need to be at the top of your priority pyramid. And from that point, you get to do a whole lot of good all down that big pyramid where everyone else is under you. Okay. This is why. Okay. Now I'm very conscious. Obviously, we have been going for over an hour. So I want to drop this because Dina, I think we need to cover this properly in another live, because we've covered quite a decent chunk of it, but I'd like Indy and I to get into it a little bit deeper. So if not in the next one, then the one after that, Indy, I think self-sabotage or self-preservation would be a fantastic topic to cover.
Just a takeaway point, Dina, will be just don't beat yourself up when something goes wrong. Just pick yourself up and carry on. Because one mistake's fine. It's when you open yourself up to do more. So when that one thing happens, just like, cool, it's part of the process.
All part of the process. Absolutely 100%. And just before we go, I want to just read out all the rest of the comments before we go. So Kavita says, I read that it's better to see changes in your shape rather than on the scales because it means you're retaining muscle mass. Is there any truth to this? Yes. You're better off watching your shape than the scales, because there are many, many different reasons why the scales will fluctuate on a daily basis. You're going to look for the trend of the scales to go down, but it's not going to be as a smooth line. So
it's not a linear path.
Absolutely. What you're looking for is, do your clothes fit better? Do you have more energy? Are you getting stronger? Okay. And if your shape is changing, but you're not seeing much difference on the scales, what's the most important thing? Because the one thing I say to people when they come on board is, when did you last walk around with your weight tattooed on your forehead? And people said, oh my God, you weigh 70 kg. I don't want to talk to you. You don't belong in my crew. Like weight is such an arbitrary thing. If you're healthy, you're energetic, you're fit, you look good, and you look after yourself, the scales are not.
I would always say the clothes, how they fit, are going to be your best kind of indicator.
Yep.
And the rest from there,
Okay. Sejal says, I love this. Definitely more confident in my 40s that now more than ever. I love that. And I feel like more and more of us are embracing our 40s and our 50s. And even I've got clients here in their 60s, and they are a whole new breed of people. And that is exactly, I'm training a man who's 67. Okay. And so we're a whole different breed. Aman says, your outer reality only changes from inner change. Absolutely.
Everything's an internal sort of process. If you don't change what's within you, it's going to be reflected back that way. Everything's a byproduct of how you perceive things to be. So if you really want to get your results, start working from within, basically.
But I also want to say, don't ever think that your happiness will come from the size of clothes that you're wearing. If you are not happy and not content, whatever size you are, no matter how much weight you lose, there will always be an element of you that will be unhappy. So remember, when we are working on things, when we're talking to you about doing certain things, it isn't because it's just factored around you dropping dress sizes or trouser sizes. It's around you being a happier and more self-loving individual, so that you can do the right things for yourself that will get you the results.
Yeah.
All right. So thank you so much, Indy, for your time and your expertise tonight. And all of you guys, thank you so much. You've had excellent input and questions. This is one of the reasons Indy and I love these lives so much, because the interaction with you guys is so brilliant. So we shall see you next week for self-preservation / sabotage.
Self-preservation, yeah. Cool, guys. Have a great week.
Have a good evening and a good week. Bye.